are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. Hackers hijack industrial control systems at U.S. water utility. This is a big deal because it is a water utility. As we said, and again, we had to restart, and it's kind of hilarious what the problem was, and it was cat-related, but I'll talk about that here in a second. But this is our second try, so if you were here live for that first one, thank you for being patient and for coming back. If you're watching the replay, then you probably don't know anything about it, so I won't bother with it. The Municipal Water Authority in Aliquippa in Pennsylvania has confirmed that hackers took control of a system associated with a booster station over the weekend, but said that there was no risk to the water supply. The company provides water and sewer services to more than 6,600 customers in Aliquippa and portions of Hopewell, Raccoon, and Potter townships. As I pointed out last time, that the town of Raccoon being affected, so the water supply of Raccoon, or Raccoon City, right? That's kind of freaky. And I'm sure it's called Raccoon Town or Raccoon Township, or I don't know. But I of course, last time we tried this, pointed out that the Resident Evil series all started and the virus broke out in Raccoon City. Very odd coincidence there. But and then they said that the representative of the water utility told KDKA that the compromised system is associated with the booster station that monitors and regulates water pressure for Raccoon and Potter townships. An alarm quickly alerted the Aliquippa utility of an intrusion, and the compromised system was disabled. The water facility representative said that there was no known risk to the water supply or drinking water. So, again, they said no known risk. So that doesn't really instill a lot of confidence there, but it says an Iran-linked hacktivist group. So they're saying that this is an Iran-linked hacktivist group calling itself Cyber Avengers has taken credit for the attack. The anti-Israel hackers have appeared to have targeted an industrial control system, or an ICS, made by the Israeli company Unitronics. So really think about that. They are saying that this is related to the conflict going on over here. This is a smaller thing, but again, think about this, affecting a group of people 6,000 strong. So say they did something and they damaged something, or they turned up something that shouldn't be turned up. I remind you, a couple of years ago there was a event where they turned up a chemical that's already put in by these facilities. They say a harmless chemical that they put in the water, like, you know, how they put chlorine or they put fluoride or these things, that it's harmless at the levels that they do it, but the event hacked it and turned it all the way up to the point where every person who drank that would have, croaked. But in that event, they had somebody manually watching, and they saw a needle basically go up, and they said, oh my gosh, and they manually turned it down. So luckily that happened in that event. But that's the kind of thing that could have happened here. So say they did do that and nobody manually saw it. And that last one, I want to remind you, they said they just happened to be sitting there and were looking at the actual meter. Otherwise, they wouldn't have caught it. So it was like a really, really crazy kind of a sign from God that this guy was there watching it. Or at least that's how they made it sound last time. In this one, say they did that. Well, they could have taken out as much as 6,600 people. Or as many people drank the water, right? I'm sure after a few hundred pass away, then obviously you got yourself, they'll figure it out. But it could have been affecting a bigger number than, say, 2001, the event that happened then that took out over 3,000, almost 4,000 people in September. So yeah, it's a big thing, but it's also looking like a practice run. This wouldn't be the nationwide thing, but of course they have threatened directly the U.S. because the U.S. is involved with Israel, and this whole thing is ensuing. There have been direct threats not only to our country during this thing, they were threatening our presidents and the people that run our country before all of this. Heck, Iran is the one who put out the video, essentially an animated video of a drone lasering our former president at Mar-a-Lago, and then having a drone come in and take him out. That was put out by the Ayatollah himself on his Twitter. For some reason, he's still on there, but other people aren't. Um, but yeah, really crazy, crazy stuff here as far as it's a water supply. With all of the other things that we're going to cover here today, like a gentleman who supposedly put something on a plane, then jumped out the emergency exit, not while it was up in the air, but while it was about to take off, jumped out the emergency exit, and everybody said, oh my gosh, he put something on the plane and then jumped out. Very, very crazy stuff. On top of that, we have a growing number of Chinese citizens coming in through the southern border. We got tons of stuff to talk about today. So again, we will be back with all of that in just a minute. Sit tight. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Today, we're going to go over a ton of stuff, so if you haven't already, make sure to go over to the website. You can find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. Today has been pretty hectic. We have our sound fixed. We believe so. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, good to see you registering on the thing. So after about 10 minutes of trying every system, and we're like, why? How could this be that I can hear Dex when you guys can't? And then when I switch it, you guys can hear him, but I can't. So we're communicating from across states. So it was something we couldn't fix live. But it turns out there is a stereo mono button on my mixer. And I guarantee you, absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, that my cat stepped on this little red depression button. And I literally probably wouldn't have noticed it because there's like 50 PFL buttons on this thing. And I wouldn't have noticed it if I didn't just think about last time my cat stepped on it while I was live. So, yeah, my cat screwed that show up. I'm not trying to not take responsibility. It was my fault because I guess we couldn't have checked it because I could hear Dex just fine. So there was no way until we went live to find out about that. But yeah, so funny enough, we got it quickly fixed with the depression of a button. Let's see here. Dex, as far as the water supply goes, this is like, along with everything else, this is the small story today. By the way, guys, usually the opener story is kind of the craziest thing there. Usually it's something to do with the title or with the thumb. That's coming up later. We have so much craziness going on over the last 72 hours. It's absolutely insane. Dex, this is an Iran-linked group that just hacked into water infrastructure. One of the threats that was already put out there. What was going on with this?
Yeah, certainly. And this, there's a couple of things to consider here. A lot of people are going to be like, it's just a small town. Oh, it's just a pressure or a pumping station, a booster station. So it doesn't even do anything but add more pressure as the water's moving down the line. How harmful could this be? Well, that's not the point. The point is that this country that is not happy with us, or this group that is backed by that country, did this. Whether this was a test to see if they could, whether this was a warning or a shot across the bow, if you want to call it that, to say, look what we can do, and we could do this anywhere. Those are the things we have to take into consideration. And we know that cyber is a big deal. It's the new part of the complex vulnerability of modern warfare, if you want to call it that. And it's sort of the unseen, but you're going to feel it. Like you're not going to see it happen, but you're going to feel the effects of it. And if it's something like your drinking water gets shut down, or even worse, gets contaminated, that is a pretty scary type event. And when we think about what we know the infrastructure is, what they are targeting, whether it be, power, which is the obvious, or even something like this, water, which is so essential.
And here's a theme that we will see with all of the events that are happening today and over the last 72 hours is that they are minimized, right? Media is minimizing it. I think it's actually kind of funny they put in here that they are often known, these hacktivist groups are often known to exaggerate their attacks. It says, however, the hackers have been known to exaggerate the impact of their attacks and have even been found to publish fake data and claim it was stolen from a targeted organization, right? They're not actually talking about this group. They're talking about, in general, these hacktivist groups. Now, yeah, we've seen that with other ones and that say that they have Facebook data or this data or whatever. But with some of these nation state actor paid ones, when they do stuff, you know it. And that's the thing. They're basically saying, oh, just to make you feel better. A lot of these groups exaggerate. This one did take control of a water control facility. You'll see here in a minute, they're saying, oh, yeah, it's normal. There's a refinery that apparently lost power and is burning off its gas. Now, I'll show you what they're saying about it, and somebody who even used to work in one. So we'll tell you about that. The general thing, though, is many of these events get under exaggerated, or they get straight up covered up because they don't want you to panic. They don't want you to know about all of this. At any given time, if you talk to any of the law enforcement members here or any of the Border Patrol agents here in our audience, like there's people that are working from all over the country, all over the world. If you talk to anybody who is prior military or actively serving, they will tell you there's issues all the time. There are things going on that the regular American people in any country you live in, really at this point, we're all connected in some way, especially all of our allies, that there are massive events that could cause wars almost on a daily basis. But usually they get figured out. They get communications between the two parties, and they figure stuff out. They cool things down. Kind of, Cuban Missile Crisis type things happen on a regular basis. I wouldn't say every day, but you would say we know at least of a few that have happened that have been covered as something completely else, something else. I'll say I got a hint that something like that happened when when a mobile home blew up outside of a major data center, right? I forget which city that was in, but that was a much bigger event. There's still no real details out on that. I know because I've gotten information about that we tried to share out. We even tried to contact people like back before they took out James O'Keefe, his group. And they were like, well, if you don't have anybody recorded saying something, then that's kind of our specialty. But there's things out there that are so big that we wouldn't touch them. I personally like living. I like my life. And I like waking up, breathing. But as far as the events that are happening right now, there's a lot more. And that's why from my attitude, and if you guys are tuned into here, you like my and Dex's opinion, then you understand, like, we're past that. We know something is coming. We treat this as how can we better prepare for whatever is happening right now. If you're new to this channel, every single day we are showing you all of, if you just follow what we are showing you that they are putting out, then you will understand, you'll start to see the patterns. You'll start to see what is happening. It's like a bad B movie, only it's real life. Thank you, by the way, Nana of Montana, or Nana MT. Thank you, says, missed you all. I have been real busy. Hope all is well. Of course, and I hope you made it to the second show. And then Trilicit says, hey, Foogle fam, love you all, and I'm curious to how many would support my wife and I in a charity walk across the U.S. We will be filming it and making a documentary. Also, make a YouTube channel. Well, Trilicit, if you build it, they will come. I would be glad to show something like that. And then I used to be in the library. Says it's been a bit of a spicy few days all over the place. Just about every country is seeing things accelerate right now. Thanks for the show. Not to mention the two major sides that are protesting right now as far as the conflict in the Middle East. This is setting up. You can see that it's set up to have the people pitted versus the mainstream media. And you have, of course, people pitted against the government right now. Even though the mainstream media is pushing that, you understand that the mainstream media is an arm of the government. So something here doesn't make sense. It's absolutely nuts what's going on right now. Now, let's talk about this facility. This is relatively breaking. There's a few relatively breaking stories today, including the plane where the gentleman jumped out. But this is an intense flaring erupts at Chevron Richmond Refinery as power failure hits the facility. It says numerous witnesses are currently reporting intense flaring with heavy black smoke emanating from Chevron Richmond refinery plant in Richmond. The reason why this is important, again, is because it says officials say this is due to a power failure at the facilities. Employees are actively working to minimize and extinguish the flaring. Contra Costa Health is dispatching hazardous material teams to investigate as the smoke can be seen for miles. Now, this is Richmond, California, the same state where their leader is surprise visiting China and all that. But there was a comment here that is really useful. It says, Rob says, this is really isn't that much of an issue. Power failure is just so they reroute all the gas through the flares and burn it off until they can fix the power issue. Happened often when I worked at Elk Hills just outside of Bakersfield, California. No real danger here. And Roz alerts a respondent says, correct me if I'm wrong, I've seen normal flaring, but Contra Costa Health is dispatching a hazardous material team to investigate. I suppose it's a mandatory requirement or something else that could be happening. So you have both sides. You have somebody who comments very conveniently saying this happens all the time. And if you work at one of these plants and say, oh yeah, that happens all the time, understandably, I think most people would notice something like this all the time, which again, there's some video of it flaring and a video of it lighting up and on fire. But also, basically, that would be due to power failure. What if the power failure is due to, I don't know, say a hack, since in the last 48 hours, we've seen multiple events. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, Rob actually replied to that one. That's further not further in the thread, but it's the next reply. He actually said, yeah, if the whole facility is down, then that's a lot of fuel burning off, which would explain the massive amount of smoke. He also said the biggest concern when rerouting so much fuel is fireballs that can make it to the ground and catch fire. He says, don't get me wrong, their issues could go south quick. So that's probably why hazmat is there, and this is looking bigger than just a typical burn off that you might see occasionally when there's a power failure.
Yeah, and the amount that is coming out, people are suggesting that the entire facility is down. We just had another place across the country in Pennsylvania, a water supply control group basically get taken over. However many are trying to be attempted to be hacked right now that aren't successful. There are events happening all around us, including something we've talked about for now, well, years, but more so in the last coming months. There's been more and more evidence of it, is folks coming in through the southern border of military age. Now, that sentence itself says something. It's kind of saying like that these guys aren't here just to find a new life, that they're here possibly because a country is sending them, right? This could, down the road, they could say that that's, RACIST or something, but really it's just a plain fact of life at this point. They know there's absolute data that shows that there's over 5.3 million in just a very short amount of time that have come in through our southern border. And yes, I bet that a lot of these people are people that just want a better life. They want the American dream. But there is a good chunk of them, we absolutely know. There's also data on the percentage that they catch, not the people they don't catch, that are absolutely sleeper cells. So these are people that are here under nefarious intentions and that could be activated at any time to do whatever their host country wants them to do. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, and it is our opinion that we are mostly preparing for a much bigger event than what they're talking about, and people don't have to believe that. People can do their own judging on all of this stuff. But I guarantee for all of you guys that follow this as closely as we do, it's really simple to see. It's your friends and family members that are just barely exposed to any of the information out there, that just get the tiny highlights that the news filters and gives them the ponies and rainbows versions, that they're not going to know what's happening, and they're going to be completely caught off guard. It is my opinion we're in World War III right now, and that's how we are preparing accordingly. People can call me crazy. People can say, oh, yeah, he's a nut. He thinks it's going to be the end of the world. I don't. I think that the World War III is going to be the beginning of a new place, not the end of it. I think that they're going to change everything. And unfortunately, this new place that we're going to be living in is going to have almost no freedoms. And it's happening on a daily basis right in front of our eyes in incremental amounts. And to close it up, they're going to do something so big that people are really going to be caught off guard. Before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, we are completely and utterly independent. If you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/energy. If you don't have backup power, this is one of the best options. Of course, it would be awesome to have both gas and solar, but the great part about solar is if we do have all of our power go out, you will be able to get power from the sun. This teamed up with solar panels, which again, this one can be modded to where just right off the bat, you can plug in 4 solar panels. This one can actually be modded to have 12 solar panels. So you can choose whether you want the base model or if you want to mod this, and it works just like Lego. You can stack up different mods that actually change the overall performance of it and make it one of the best units ever made. Again, you can actually expand this up to 96 batteries. Those batteries take that power from the sun and then store it for when you need it. So, heck, you have one sunny day, you store that power, in 3 days from then you lose power, and you've had rain and clouds and cover and absolutely no sun, you'll still have power. That's the great part about solar energy and storing it on the batteries. You also will not have to deal with the gas stations. You will not have to deal with storing fuel. All you will need to do is have your solar panels and this stored somewhere, and again, have it ready to go. You can also charge it from the wall. These are awesome, awesome units. Energy is one of the best companies out there. In fact, they are actually going to be shipping out their new Flex Tactical out to the Army. They just won the SBIR Phase 2 contract, and they are actually going to be shipping these out to the U.S. Army. This was designed with help from the Air Force Research Laboratory, and if you really want the most tactical and the coolest, toughest one they have, this would be the one. There is a bit of a wait for it, though. Again, anything lithium related, anything like this is now really, really hard to get. So I would get your name on it soon. But otherwise, I think most people will be just fine with the regular model. Again, everything about this is incredibly well made. And of course, it can be a base unit, or you can expand it up to 96 batteries. You can have every mod imaginable and have every feature you want. That's the great part about being able to mod it and to be able to have a modular system like this. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. It helps support us, and it gets you a giant discount at the same time, so it is a win-win. We're independent, we're on our own, and we're up against mainstream media, which basically just literally gets the first 4 pages of results, whereas we're put at the bottom of the barrel because we don't have a 3-letter agency behind us. CNN, FOX, all of those, and CIA, those. Again, marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle to not only save, but to help support. All right, and then growing numbers of Chinese migrants are crossing the southern border. Is this like the biggest duh moment in the world? It says the surge of migrants entering the United States across the southern border increasingly includes people from a surprising place, China. Now, what's even funnier, this is from the Seattle Times. Now, if you haven't been to Seattle, it's a pretty liberal place. We're home of Amazon. We're home of Boeing. Well, most of these places are leaving because they probably know we're going to be underwater here soon. But Amazon and Jeff Bezos are moving to Florida, and all of these other places are going somewhere else. But it doesn't change the fact that this place is one of the most liberal places in the country, if not the world. We were the testing grounds. In fact, when CV hit, we were one of the first places and first victims. We were also one of the testing grounds for some of the most strictest rules during that whole time. Anything they wanted to test, like super draconian measures, it definitely went down here. As far as they've taken out, I think 20 miles of streets here that are just not available to anybody except for, I believe, bicycles. Like they've taken regular roads and they said these are going to be walking trails. Like crazy stuff. Unless you're a delivery vehicle or an Uber, you can't drive there. Or if you live there, yeah. But they've like done that because they say, oh, well, we need biking roads and stuff like that. That's how crazy they are here. And the newspaper is very, very, very on that end. But now they're the ones saying this. The surge of migrants entering the United States across the southern border increasingly includes people from a surprising place, China. Despite the distances involved, the difficulties of the journey, more than 24,000 Chinese citizens have been apprehended crossing the United States from Mexico in the past year. It says that is more than the preceding 10 years combined. So put that in perspective. They're saying the 10 years combined, there was less than 2,400. In the last year, there's 24,000 Chinese citizens. And nobody is seeing exactly what we've been saying this entire time. That is a large number. And that is, again, the people that they have counted and caught. What in the H? Dex, this is absolutely nuts. It's
probably double that, that when you take into account how many are really coming across and not getting caught, because they only can apprehend so many. Some suggest the number's 50%, some suggest the number's 68%, as far as apprehensions go, but it's not really a widely published number. A lot of people have debates over how that they come up with those specific numbers, because they only tell us who they catch. They don't tell us who snuck through. So that number would be significant. 50,000 people just in this year, if it's literally double this, coming in from China. Now, the article and who it's written by sort of writes it off as, oh well, these people that are coming in are running away from the bad things in China that came around from CV, et cetera, et cetera. But we've seen the pictures. We know there's a lot of young military aged men, and not saying that's what they are, but they certainly could be when they all look that way, coming across in these. And the fact that they have risen to such a high level in such a short amount of time in comparison to all the other countries that have typically held their positions as far as popularity in the top 4 or 5, even with Venezuela swaying up higher at some point because it had some reasons. But yes, this is very alarming, something we've been talking about for a long time, but now we're seeing it coming from the other side, so to speak.
And it did point out an interesting fact here. It says, and most succeed, in turn fueling further attempts. Chinese citizens are more successful. Get this. Chinese people are more successful than other people from other countries with their asylum claims in immigration court. Why? Again, I don't know. And it says, and those who are not end up staying anyway because China usually will not take them back. So if China has an army of people, all they need to tell them is go, don't worry, when they try to send you back, we're not going to take you. And apparently America is our B. And they just will say, okay, well then we'll keep them. What? What do you mean? Then send them back to Mexico. Send them somewhere else. You're saying so China says, oh no, we don't want them back. So then what? We just keep their throwaways? Like, that doesn't make sense either. Just say that they're normal people looking for a better life. They come here, they get deported, and they say, no, we don't want them back. They're not good people. We don't want them. That's not how it should work. It should be like, okay, they came from you. You need to take them back. We're not just going to dump it off on another country with another government and say, hey, you got to take these people now. No, you have to take the people that came from your country. But apparently if they say no, then they get to stay there. Gosh, that would be a really perfect setup for sleeper cells, because they know that they're going to be able to stay in there if they just don't take them back. What? Go ahead, Dex.
Well, and if even if you don't think 24,000 is a lot, and even if you double it and say, okay, it's 50,000, you don't think it's a lot. Well, here's a real number. There's 1.3 million people in the United States with final orders to be deported. Of that, there's 100,000 that are Chinese, according to the administration official. So that's a legit number, or at least, coming from an official. It's not just an estimation or a guesstimation. It's coming from somebody on the inside saying that's how many are on the list. So again, just who they've caught and just who they're putting on the deport list, the number is staggering.
Okay, well, Dex, when you said, oh, maybe some will say 24,000 isn't a lot, right? And that's the one that's caught. Say it's 50,000, right? Do you remember when we were covering how if one of our specialists goes in or one of our SEALs goes in? Remember there was some specific story that we talked about how a group of 10 SEALs is the equivalent to 400 soldiers, and it's not exact science. It's basically like they are so trained up, how good these smaller specialist groups are, that they essentially equal a squadron of 400. They can go in with 10 of them and basically do the damage of a group of 400 or 300 or whatever it is. Now imagine if say even 10,000 of these guys were specialists. Now, is there any evidence to back that up? I don't know, but it is kind of weird that they had documentation of the guys that are coming over 18 to 25 who could be equivalent to Navy SEALs, Chinese SEALs. I don't know what they call their specialist programs over there. But these gentlemen are getting across the border, and then they are taking a live chicken, slicing it, and then drinking its innards, which is a PLA ritual. It's again, just go look it up. It's freaking weird. So are these guys just normal people or even normal soldiers if they are? Or if they were soldiers and secret soldiers or sleepers, could they be some of the most trained secret soldiers? Because that would equal a whole lot more if you've got trained guys that are absolutely the best of the best being sent over, and you would think that that's who they would send. As far as why it is even talked about right now, is there is a bigger picture that people are looking at. All of the strange events. And it's not like connecting crazy dots from across the planet. It's like the secret police stations, which have come out. All of our allied countries and almost every NATO country has reported seeing these secret Chinese police stations with the equivalent of spies in all of these countries. What the heck is going on here? Not to mention, you have all sorts of odd things going on as far as our politicians actually saying, oh, yeah, no, and turning a blind eye to people coming in. And we absolutely know there's very bad people coming in on this. It's almost like as if they're getting paid off, or that they have conflict of interest, or maybe a certain country is very tied in with their pocket, like they're on the board of Chinese companies, or Chinese companies fund their company. It's this kind of stuff that makes us wonder if there's some sort of Red Dawn thing going on. Now, others could look at this from outside and say, oh, well, this is, something phobia, this or that. I have nothing against the actual Chinese people or any people. But the CCP, everybody can agree, is a communist nation. And they are one that actually believes that they should be number one, that they should literally be above the U.S., and they believe in controlling every aspect of their population. If they are the ones who are trying to take over the world, which it certainly looks like they are taking notes directly out of the U.S. by getting involved politically with the entire planet, funding loans to other countries, and spreading out their bases around the world, which is happening now, and building the largest military in the world. Which has now already happened with their Navy, which is now the largest in the world. Not to mention the Air Force is on its way. They're building ships and planes and carbon copies of our 5th and 6th generation fighter jets, probably, faster than anyone has ever seen before. And then Dex, ransomware catastrophe at Fidelity National Financial causes panic with homeowners and buyers. What the heck happened here?
So we talked about this last week. Fidelity National Finance. This was the mortgage company that does a lot of the transactions when you buy a house, or they do the escrow services and all of that, title insurance, etc. They were hit by a massive ransomware attack last week, as we reported, and they had to shut certain things down. Well, apparently it's still going on. This is how bad it is. People who have sold their homes and gone through the mortgage process and were supposed to be paid haven't even been paid. They don't have their money. There's other divisions inside of the Fidelity National Financial Group that do things like managing mortgage services for these lenders or for the loans that are out there. That means they allow you to receive a payment. They take the payment for your loan. They allow you to see how much your balance is and things like that, or update your escrow account, etc. That's all offline. There's no answer that people have called and they can't get through. It says, "Hey, we're sorry, but we're not available right now. We're down." So there are people who can't even pay their mortgage and don't know what to do. And there are people that have sold a house or bought a house and it's not funded. The funds are just stuck off in la la land right now. This has been going on for a week now. So pretty big deal. A lot of folks are sort of asking, hey, who else is affected by this? And I also have a sneaking suspicion that other financial institutions are really worried about what was used to get in here. What, tool, and is it something that's common, or is there a common, element that is going to be used by some of these other bankers? I know we have talked quite a bit, especially you, Adam, and you can expand upon this about the knowledge that some folks have about potential hardware issues, which would really be firmware on that's happening that they're looking at in these financial institutions.
Yeah, so if you aren't a regular watcher and you're new, I used to be in credit card processing. I was more on the simple end of hooking up the customer or store or 7-Eleven or whatever with a better machine. And I got to know ins and outs of the banking industry and all sorts of stuff like that. Basically a glorified machine salesman, right? But as far as that, I actually did make friends with some pretty high up people in the banking industry. I was very liked at most of my jobs and I did really good. Well, one of the people owned a smaller company at the time, now is in charge and ended up basically the company he did that did credit card processing basically went kaput around 2013 or 14. And then he ended up getting a job extremely high up in the banking industry. So I can't say who it is, but they told me, and this was before a major notice came out, like 3 days before any notice of it, told me that they were asked that they need to hire all sorts of people to be testing their all of their weaknesses from here, in fact, about a month ago, all the way until March of next year. And they were told that there are major threats on our banking industry. This is one day before, too, where the event happened with the Federal Reserve, where nobody got their deposits. You guys remember? Said that it was not a software thing, that it was a hardware thing, that it was going to be a hardware issue. The next day, Dex, what came out? I mean, it was legit. The next day, they put out a notice saying that it would affect what?
Hardware.
And said that this is something that this is all throughout the banking industry. And then the next day, of course, what happened? Deposits didn't go into Bank of America, U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, all the major banks. So I do thank him. I got really great info out of that. But the bigger concerning part about that is that this is an ongoing thing. This is all of the companies that were involved in SolarWinds. They didn't fix all of that. They might have updated their software or updated this, but we're talking about backdoors into hardware, actual hardware. So that's the freaky part. And you're talking about self-replicating things that could actually create more backdoors. So as far as this goes, this is why people really need to pay attention to what's happening and especially have backup plans, have some sort of backup plans. What if you one day cannot go to the ATM and pull out money? What if one day you can't access your money? What is your plan? Do you have a plan B? Because if we lose power, we're losing power for a long time. At least if they take down our transformers, unless they have backup transformers on site, these things are 200 tons. They are not manufactured here, and they have to be manufactured for the exact place they're going in. These are transformers. These huge building-sized transformers are made other places. Again, I think I wanted to say the Philippines, but wherever they're made, it's overseas, and then they have them custom made for the area and put in. They say as little as 9 of these get taken out, we lose our grid. If we lose our grid, we're losing our banking structure. If we lose our grid, we're losing our gas and our fuel infrastructure. We're losing our water supply. In fact, they say 90% of us would perish in a nationwide power outage in the first year. And that's not because we'd be taking each other out. It'd be because the water infrastructure would completely go kaput. Without water, that's when you get a lot of people perishing. A lot of talk has been talked about just recently with Iran and their country and even their religious background. They say that an EMP or something like this, something that would knock down our grid, that it would even be okay and kosher as far as their religion goes, because the EMP itself does not directly take life. An EMP goes off, knocks down the whole grid. Nobody dies. Nobody perishes from that event. But it will end up kicking off events that end up taking us all out. They think of it as they need to take us down a notch and take away all of our technological greed and everything else. So all of this has been talked about, yet we've been talking about this for years now, and now it is now catching up. Now that it's actually happening, it's happening so much to a T to what we thought was going to happen. People were like, no way, this has got to be scripted. It's happening as we thought it would. And of course, regular people are going to be caught off guard when this happens. And then China's CV trauma returns as hazmat workers disinfect the streets. So remember back a few months ago when Mr. AJ said, oh, yeah, well, I know, and the DHS guy that I know said that very soon, within this many months, that we were going to be basically stuck at home again, right? Well, that ended up getting put out, and we did find out that there was some pretty real stuff around that, right? That within hours of that, the news put out, oh, there's a new thing, a new this or new that. But just maybe, did that stop something? Because they didn't expect that to come out. Maybe they were going to slow roll this whole come out, but then if they did it just right then it would look like AJ was right. Maybe they delayed it. I don't know, because it still looks like something is going on. Everybody in the community is talking about this new airborne respiratory thing, whatever it is. But again, that chatter slowly grows. Of course, at January of this year, I remember covering that they said that the funeral homes and things back over in China, they were overwhelmed, that they were putting people in the parking lot. If you remember this was the same timeline right after we just had a new tabletop exercise, identical to the one that happened right before 2019, happened again. And this new one affected your brain. This hypothetical scenario that they played out affected your brain, and it was called, CV25 or something. And they tabletopped how this would affect the world. Same thing happened before 2019. They said and it was almost identical to what actually happened. So in January, it really looked like this was going to happen earlier. I said this, then go 6 months in the future. AJ comes out, says all this stuff, and I swear it was like within hours they had all of these things that were related to it, and people were going. It was enough to where everybody was like, "Oh, the AJ jar is overfull and it's tipped over." But it's almost like it got put on pause. We also heard from people in Indiana. We actually had a caller from Indiana that said somebody at their school told them that by winter break, which is not happened yet, which is coming up soon, that we were all going to be stuck at home, and that they were preparing teachers and saying like, hey, this is happening and this is the deal. Also told this person that they were going to have gas prices that hit $7 in Indiana, which is absolutely crazy because that's one of the places where it's somewhat cheap still, or at least cheap compared to here where we have, last night I paid $5.50 a gallon, which people are now used to. They're like, oh yeah, that's cool. No, it's not. But now all of this sort of chatter is coming out again. And it says China's CV trauma report returns as hazmat workers disinfect the streets. It says that public health workers wearing full protective gear have appeared on the streets of northern China. And of course, according to the footage on social media, evoking memories of the country's stringent anti-V measures during the CV-19. The hazmat-clad personnel were seen spraying disinfectant in public spaces in Shanxi, in China's northern Hebei province, roughly 50 miles east of the capital, Beijing. So this is close to one of their big, huge business cities. According to the poster of the images and video footage, it remains unclear whether this was local government initiative or central government directive. Now, we all know about the whole draconian crazy spraying that happened there during, and we also know about the videos that showed people in the doorways and people falling on the street. Most of those were fake videos. We found out this later. But it was real enough for people to get scared and to be hyped up so much where they were sterilizing boxes of Cheerios before they brought them home. Now, fast forward, they're talking about these new Vs that are way, way worse than the others. Whether that's true or not, the same fear-based kind of narrative is coming out. Now, I knew CV was going to be big. I covered it from the very first patient in the U.S. to the first camp where they held one guy at a camper in near Seattle. I covered all this because I knew it was going to be big. They were telling us in graphs that it was going to affect the globe. Now, whether you think the actual event was big, it can't be argued that shutting down the whole world, that was big. Most people believe that it was worse, that it all shut down, worse, 50,000 times worse than the actual event itself. Even politicians have admitted that the shutdown took out everything. I mean, I know at least 3 business owners, including a salon, that went kaput and they never came back. They couldn't pay rent for 4 months straight without having a single customer come in the door. Even somebody I know that had 3 months saved in case of a tornado or a crazy disaster, they still went out of business. As far as ma and pa places, they all got shut down. Meanwhile, Target and Fred Meyer and Safeway and all these big companies that were the same companies that stood up on the pedestal and says, we're going to fight together, we're going to fight to keep open, those were the same ones that are on the board for all of these other companies that help, and they're all tied in with the military industrial, the big, all of this. Meanwhile, ma and pa shut down. So I would be highly, highly paying attention to what goes on here. I hope that there is nothing that is going to come out of this, but when you start seeing these videos, you should pay attention. And maybe the more people that talk about it, just like the people that talked after AJ said that thing, the more that they will realize that people are paying attention. Dex, as far as the spraying and stuff, we actually have some images here put out. I can't say the name because it's in
Heute brauch ich dich zum Träumen.
Jeez. Gosh, that's a copyright and a half. Okay. Let me mute this here. Gosh, I felt like I was on a game show there for a second. I thought I was going to have to fit through a certain shape hole. Gosh, I thought that I was going to be facially recognized. I thought that my social credit score went down. Anyways, going through this, there's some pretty alarming pictures. They have these things that literally look like drywall heaters, and maybe they are. Maybe they just like stuck on some ropes. These things don't even look legit. This looks like they used like painter's tape to glue up some tarps. Like, this does not look legit. If they said, hey, there's Ebola in this room, go in this, I would say, I quit. But if you look at the images and some of the things that happened here, it's pretty draconian and pretty creepy looking. These sprayers, they sprayed the streets, they sprayed classrooms, they sprayed government buildings, and for some reason lined up for a photo. Can you ask yourself, why would they line up for a photo? Is this history? Think about it. Really think about it. Why did they line up for a photo? Why was there a photo shoot in the first place? Really think about it, people. When you're making history, that's what happens. Pretty creepy if you ask me. Let's go over to the chat here for a second. James McGowan, not to mention there's a whole other thing. We could go off on a side rant about all of the different things that they say they are doing. Possible neurostrike technology that can literally control brains. It's no longer theoretical. That's what officials have said now. They have possible control over huge swaths of the media. Well, they do have huge swaths of the media, but even control over certain medias that could actually be the delivery system for said control. Pretty crazy. Lady L, love always what is happening. Captain Opana, if you guys want to do a quick roll call, it would be great to see everybody. And of course, if you just say general state or province, then other Fugel family members from the same state, you'll instantly have something in common. Let's see here. Peppermint, what is going on? Yep, can read our thoughts now. Jam low. That's, 10 years ago, that would have been, laughed off the stage. Now it's literal. Let's see here. We've got Lord Andrew through Central Florida. We've got Tennessee. We've got Bronx, New York. Sweet Peach forever. Burger Time says Fort Wayne says hi. We've got Sup from Arkansas. J Paz, what is happening? Broken Wrench from Santa Barbara, California. Ryan Alter, sad Buckeye Land. That's hilarious. Eureka, California, old time gamer. What is happening? Gale Firestorm from Colorado Springs. We've got Stealth Mode from North Florida. Old Rider, Alberta, Canada. Johnny Gonzalez from the Rio Grande. Birmingham, Alabama. Teshua, what's going on? We're all Jammer 1 from Indiana. Says top Indiana gas $3. So obviously that prediction didn't come true. And then Terry Snyder, see, that's cheap. That's $2.50 cheaper than here. Like, that is insanity. So if they were being told that gas was going to go up to $7 in Indiana, imagine how much of a jump that is. Is that really a $4.50 raise from what they are at? Or $3.50. Buckeye 2012. What's going on? We've got Tina Jarvis, the 247 here. Patricia Jones, 280. Oh, okay. The gas price, 280. Where are you guys at? That is insanity. Why do we pay twice as much? And I know we have a state tax that's attached to that, but oh my gosh, 279, 250 now in Oklahoma. Jennifer, I could. Everything is, we've thought about moving to Oklahoma because we have family there too. And it's like, Oklahoma's actually stayed really cheap. Texas, 247. You guys are going to make me cry. I shop Kroger's and get their 1 cent gallon discount. Yeah. Well, when we shop a lot, 258 in Florida. Well, okay. You guys got to, okay. Basically it's Texas. See, 359 Bronx. Can anybody tell what we're paying here in Washington? $5.50. It's absolutely crazy. Not a Kitten says have to get a bicycle. I've thought about it. I mean, I have a bike, but I thought about like getting a gas-powered scooter or something. Dex, go ahead.
A 255 here, and I actually got 260 the other day.
Oh, you're kidding. So we're lucky. Like if we spend and always remember, at the end of the month, Safeway and Fred Meyer's and Kroger's and stuff like this, you can save up your points. Like the more you buy groceries there or whatever, you get gas points. The most I've ever gotten, and I think it's the most you can get, is $1. And it's like 1 cent for every $100 you have to spend that month or something. It's like you buy everything there, your groceries. I remember when we ended up getting our couch on top of our groceries, like I got $1 off of my gas. It was still $4.50 or it was $4.60 or something, and I was happy. I told you guys about this. I was happy that day that I got it under $5. That's with the dollar off. If it was at $2.50, I would pay $1.50 in gas. Like that would just be unheard of. That is so insane. Barefoot knock. Oh, everybody that's here, thank you guys for making it after that whole sound issue earlier. Thank you so much. And if you're watching the replay, again, thank you for watching us, and I'm hoping you're having a great coffee in the morning. All right, and then Dex, you do want to talk about the? Well, actually, I kind of told you about that, but do you want to tell me about the Benjamin Weingarten thing, and then I'll go over the plane?
Yeah, certainly. So this is kind of interesting. So this tweet is from Benjamin Weingarten, and I don't think he actually put it together. I think it was somebody else, but he did put some sources in here. So we've got it on the website, so you can go look through and see the sources. But apparently one of the captives that was released, one of the U.S. citizens, one of the first ones released out of this new agreement over in Israel, was the granddaughter of someone who's connected to the administration. And by connected, they had done some fundraising. They were given a commission for the preservation of American heritage abroad. And all of that happened somewhere, and we're not sure what the timing was of them purchasing some of that famous artwork from the son of our current president, Hunter. So that very, very expensive artwork. I think some had suggested it was, a lot of money. I don't know exactly how much, but to the tune, some said, upwards of $875,000. So that's a lot of money for a piece of art. So anyway, what does that tell you? There's a lot of ways you can think about that. Is it just a coincidence?
And mind you, he's
I
not a
don't believe it.
Picasso. He's not a Picasso.
Not at
Mind
all.
you,
This stuff is-
the amount they were paying, some question that amount was not so much for the painting as much as it was for the, two lines connecting, right?
Exactly. Yeah, or pre down payment on favors that are going to be called up later, right? But yes, like, what is this? How did this happen? Is this,
Big guy.
was there something going on here in the sense of, did they pay to play to sort of get their name on the list first to get them out? Were they part of a much larger conspiracy around this whole topic? I don't know. I'm sure everybody's going to ask these questions, but man, it sure just doesn't feel right when you look at it and say, okay, well, the first person released is the granddaughter of the woman who bought this work and was given this position and did a lot of stuff for the administration.
Well, maybe the favor got called in. Or maybe they're like, hey, I own one of your pictures of a naked refrigerator or something. I don't know what the guy paints, but I would assume he's like painting a ceiling fan at a hotel somewhere. I don't know, but yeah, they bought $875,000 of his art so they could say, oh, this is his artwork. The guy that everybody has seen his, you know what? And then Senator Tom, because I skipped over this. This is crazy. A passenger aboard a Boeing 737 MAX 8 Southwest Airlines flight 3172 from New Orleans to Atlanta caused major panic on Sunday evening when he opened an overwing emergency exit while the aircraft was still at the gate. It says he jumped onto the tarmac, and there's video of this. It's actually a really far fall, and he basically tumbled, and attempted to hijack an airport service truck. I don't know if the word hijack works. He basically tried to grab one of these service trucks that brings your luggage. And it says police later found the man and promptly arrested him. But it was kind of, I guess the video, there's two different videos. There's video on the plane of people panicking. You go, oh my gosh, he just left something on the plane, and then he jumped out. People are talking about it, and they're saying exactly that. He left something, he put something on the plane, and then jumped out the side of the plane. Mind you, there was no loading dock there. I think he jumped out, like opened it after they had moved, and he went 10 feet or something down to the ground. They weren't up in the air, luckily. But at the same time, why do that? Yeah, I guess maybe if this was a planned thing, again, these are all events that are happening. The common theme, though, is they've minimized all of this. Just the other day, we had some other event happen. Like, as regarding planes and things, that's the scary part. It says police later arrested him, though his motives remain unclear. Following his arrest, the man was taken to a hospital for evaluation. So just to go through a couple of the clips here, it basically shows the folks on the plane and them talking about him. And then it shows a second angle from people, and this is inside the airport. And some of the comments are, worst cameraman ever. But this person then jumps onto the ground. You see that person right here wearing the red jump onto the ground and then start to run. And then the staff basically grab him, snatch him, and throw him down on the ground. So this whole thing happened within like a minute, right? It all went down. So what is actually happening here? I would say with all of the other things that are happening, that people should keep their head on a swivel and start paying attention, especially since they have told us that stuff is happening. Whether you believe if there is a big event, it's going to be a big Fantastic Freddy. Either way, I think the results are still the same. If they are going to do a Fantastic Freddy, it's going to be big enough to where they can have everybody videotape it, where everybody can have 50 different angles, and they'll still be able to change laws, put something into place, change the way we live, change how we rule our society based on this event to keep us safe. I mean, there's a general theme too of all of the ways that they've been able to change our life. The Patriot Act was because of the Twin Towers. The Patriot Act, which now surveils all of us, which listens to us, all of this we know came out of the event of that, and how they justified it to the people at the very top, or at least the lemmings at the top that think they're at the top, is they showed them, hey, we're doing it for their safety. It's, we have to do bad to do good kind of thing. So obviously bigger things are happening right now. And if you realize how much they cover things up, then you'll start to realize like it's way worse than what they're showing. This is on top of the entire world going out and protesting and blocking roadways. And I mean, we didn't show you half of this stuff. They just blocked the Manhattan Bridge and all of these other events that have been going on over the last 72 hours. So pay attention, people. And then, Dex, you want to go over Senator Tom Cotton proposes massive retaliation against Iran after spat of attacks. Now, like before, when we start getting cyber attacks here, that's an act of war. If the intelligence, or at the very top, they could tell the senators, oh, we absolutely know this was directly funded by Iran, that gives us our go-ahead to go against war against Iran, which if you listen to some of the Iran comments, they have stated that we want to take them out, to change regime, and to come in and to control everything. That's their view. So it would only be kind of backing up what they were saying. But this is crazy. They're saying now a massive retaliation.
Yeah, he's drawing on a couple of examples in the past. So what we're seeing, what he is suggesting that we've seen with the current administration's response to the what is now 67 plus attacks, I believe, against U.S. troops, that all we've done is hit a couple of caches of gear and equipment, but we haven't really done much to go after them. I think the last one we actually may have injured or took out a couple people, but we haven't hit anything really hard. They've been super soft responses. And he's saying that that's, very timid, and that we are looking like we have this fear of escalation, and that everybody is sort of telling us, oh, if you do it, it's going to escalate into, World War III. But he goes back to the example of, hey, when Reagan went in and took out half and sank half of their navy, everything calmed down for a while. And then when T-Man went in and took out Soleimani, everything calmed down for a while. Even though they may have some rhetoric, all the actions calmed down. Everything, it was like a sign of strength. So he is arguing. And by the way, he's an Army vet. He's on the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. And I'm not trying to be political. I know he's on a certain side, and this is the opposite side of the administration. But the point is that this discussion is going on in our government right now on how to deal with these attacks that have been happening. And one side says, hey, let's take it really soft and easy because we don't want to throw that match on the fire because we think it's going to be bad. And the other side is saying, no, go in really hard and put that fire out with an explosion, which is a form of extinguishing, and that's all it would take. So this is the conversation going on. We'll see where it may or may not go as it relates to the decisions made in our government. But I tend to believe that the president's probably the one in the most control right now, since there isn't an actual declaration. And even if there is, he's still the one in control.
Well, never let a good crisis go to waste. Now, some have said that as far as Israel, as far as backing them up, there are many people that it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to back them up. But as far as their army versus the current group, most people will say Israel can thoroughly do the job. They have a crazy, crazy awesome army. They could do it without help if they wanted to, or at least that's what's being said. But as far as that's with them, and then this group that is funded by Iran. So many say, well, that should be between them and them. But because there's religion involved, everybody is either saying they have to be supported no matter what. But you have to look at this beyond that. There are people in our government that have talked about it for 10 years about going to war with Iran. So are they not letting a good crisis go to waste and also use this as a way to enter it in? Do you think that the U.S. wants to take out Iran's ruling government? Do you think that they wanted an excuse to take them out? Or do you think the opposite, that they are just trying to look out for Israel? Are they just trying to save people's lives and to help? The general thing is, the more you know about what they've done in the past, it's kind of like, well, usually there's some sort of ulterior motive. You have to realize, what I think is funny is people don't trust any of the politicians, but then think their overall thing that they're doing is a good thing. There's always some sort of ulterior motive. And they're most likely doing it for some sort of nefarious reason. At least that's what I think. Again, what is happening right now, in the bigger picture of things, it's setting up chaos worldwide, division like we've never seen in any of our lifetimes. This is the most division I think anybody, including 80-year-olds or 90-year-olds that are listening right now. Would you say that this is more divisive time than ever in the past? Tell me, though, before I was born, did you see a time that was this bad where people are arguing about literally everything, young and old, Jewish, Muslim, right and left, black and white? Doesn't matter what side you're on. There's another side that's equally vocal about it. TikTok, Twitter, or TikTok, YouTube. I mean, like, it's just nonstop. What do you guys think? Let me know. Neil Nelson says, I lived or I lived. I don't know. I don't know if you actually went live, because you could say I lived as a noun. Like, I lived. I'm living right now. I don't know. But Neil Nelson, thank you for the support. And thank you for the super sticker as well. Says, you are amazing. Hey, thank you. And then Trilicit, thank you, Adam and fam. I'll update in time with new YouTube. Trilicit, I am totally encourage you. And I really am excited that you are starting a channel about it. And then Nana MT, Trilicit, I used to be in the library. Chanel Bevaliqua, thank you for this week supporting us. Over on D-Live for keeping the D-Live family alive. Thank you so much, Kimbria, Beer Juice, Yobi, Bug Nana, Queen BTP, of course, Poco Loco, and Skyhouse. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Scooby-Doo Right, thank you again, not only for supporting, but previous shows, hosting, and other things. Thank you guys over there on D-Live. Let's see here. And thank you, everybody that has been patient with everything that went down today. Before we move on, make sure also go check out EMP Shield. Most of you already know what it does, but if you don't, this is an actual device that can protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and any other thing that runs, and you want to keep it running. You can actually put an EMP shield on it and allow it to survive all three phases of an EMP, or an electromagnetic pulse, and survive a Carrington-level event from the sun. So whether it happens naturally or man-made, you can protect not only your cars, trucks, vehicles, all of that, but you can also protect your home, protect your ham radio, protect your generator, your gas, or solar in the case of the Flex 1500. There's a device for pretty much anything that you want to keep running, including solar systems, at marfoogle.com/EMP. This is the same company that's outfitted agencies like DHS, DOD, the Department of Defense, and of course now they're on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This is something that you won't need until you need it, and once you do, you will really thank yourself. If you are the only car that drives, then you are going somewhere. Or if you work very far from home and you want to get home to bug in, or if you want to get your family out to bug out, it's pretty hard to do so when your car is fried. This grounds the signal on 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device, and it's super easy to put in. Red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and then green to ground. So those three wires is all it takes, and then in less than 10 minutes, you've got your car outfitted with an EMP protection device. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. It helps us out, it protects yourself, And of course, you are saving a bunch of money per device, $50 off. And of course, there's always all sorts of sales. Ours stacks on top of any sale. If there's any kind of holiday or Black Fridays or Cyber Mondays, our code always stacks. So make sure to do that. Go code MARF right now. It is Cyber Monday, so make sure to go check marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right, Dex, let's go over the web only. We've got a lot of crazy stuff there.
Yeah, we certainly do. Head over to marfoogle.news.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or hit that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you to this webpage where everything we just talked about is covered. All the links to the sources and information is there. Yellow bar says overflow. It's the rest of the story. A lot of this is complementary to what we've talked about. So with the cases that were breaking out in China, why causing them to spray the streets, so to speak, they're seeing an uptick of that in Europe too. These child pneumonia cases. So that's there if you want to learn more about it. The first human detection of a swine cough strain has been detected in the UK. So that's another one. So check those out if you want to learn more about that. We're keeping an eye on that kind of stuff. It's the type of things that we pay attention to. So we'll keep you posted if we hear anything that's really alarming. There's some other things going on, especially with what's going on in the Middle East, with Iran adding new warships to the Caspian Sea Fleet. NK talking about what they're doing with new satellite launches, that they want to push those up even more. We've got all of those kind of updates that are happening across the globe, including Elon's visit to Israel is in there as well. So if you didn't know that, he went over and met with Netanyahu. So the entire political spectrum is covered in here as far as what's going on with T-Man, and some crazy things even with Kanye and what he's doing. He's always in the limelight at the moment with some very controversial stuff, which is typical for him, it seems, lately. So all of that and so much more. It's literally an entire show's worth of information. We put it together for you every night. It's the rest of the story. It's a lot of the things that we maybe are too edgy to cover on the show because it gets too many people heated because there's a lot of cited things, or it's a lot of other information that goes hand in hand with everything we talked about, but it is worth your time because we take the time to put it together for you. I know you're going to appreciate it. So just click the link, go take a look, see what you're missing out on. marfooglenews.com, thumbnail for the show, or the show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here.
Pope Francis may be on his last leg, some are saying. And then, of course, exactly what we talked about. There's more and more talk about should there be limiters or speed limits on cars from the manufacturers? Should cars have built-in speed limits? Some think it's time. Remember that Rainbow Bridge thing with the Bentley that went off the day before, or the week before they had that guy that went 160. This has happened forever. High-speed car chases have been a thing for years and years. Why now are they trying to put these in? Oh, is it closer to that deadline of 2025 when we talked about years ago that they were going to try to put in these limiters or these things into cars, these now more tech-oriented cars that would basically give them effective control over travel infrastructure, your car, your truck, your transportation. It's all part of a broad thing that they will be doing in the future, or at least it's my belief, keeping us travel less, staying in the same area, 20-minute towns, people. That's what I call them. And then, of course, the other part with the this part here down here. So let me go to it if it goes there. Pentagon official overseeing federal schools arrested in Georgia. Human sting. Is that not straight something that was kind of hinted to in other movies this year that were talked about with real stuff? It's like, yeah, there's people on the inside, obviously. I wonder why it's not talked about, why they're not doing press conferences about that subject. And here's the thing, since we know it's such a real thing, it's such a big thing, how is this still a taboo thing? It's taboo where even the government doesn't talk about it. They don't talk about that they're doing it. It's like, oh, well, people don't want to hear about it and it's really sad, so we just don't talk about it. What? It's our children. If there wasn't, this must be, and we know that it's bigger money than any drug cartel now. It has literally surpassed that hundreds of times. You're talking about billions, if not trillions of dollars in this, taking of the wee ones. The only thing I could think of is that there's many people at the top that are a part of it. Because how would media companies not talk about it? Would all this? And then, of course, now this recent thing that actually sheds a light on it, they made it a political thing, and they made it the R word, or they attached it to nutcases. It's like, are you kidding? Why can't they talk about it? Because it's inconvenient that people don't want to think about it? I don't get it. And then the AI initiative accelerate decisions on lethal autonomous weapons. Just a few years ago, we talked about this. We said it would happen. I said this before even Dex came along. When everybody was talking about the South Korea possible robots, the killer robots that had weapons on them. I talked about it before before they put the 40 cal on the dogs, the robot dogs. We knew it was coming because there was chatter in the military community saying that this was going to happen. Now it would be, of course, the whole thing with this is it's coming. At some point, you're going to have robot police. Think about this. They have drilled everybody into their heads that human beings can't be police and defund the police and everything. This is a thing out of RoboCop. Oh, but we'll have robots do it. They don't have feelings. They don't have biases. They're not the R word. People don't see this in the making. I don't get it. All right. Yeah, there's lots down there. So go check it out. MarfoogleNews.com. Thank you, Dex. I loved your help tonight. Thank you so much.
Much love, brother. Great job.
Neil Nelson, thank you. Trilicit. I used to be in the library. Nana MT, thank you so much. And I don't know if you're here. I know that you can't stay up all night. Thank you so much. And everybody else that made it tonight, I appreciate you. Thank you, Rip. Rip Curl Readiness, thank you for being in the chat earlier. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jammer, for holding it down. Thank you, everybody. Make sure to go check out all of our wonderful mods, including Rip Curl, including Jammer, including Ilea, including, of course, the wonderful Lisa R. Hall, and Trinity, Redder, Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here in our wonderful in-house Wages World, great solar expert. Go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. All right, you guys, have a great one. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. They really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. Kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. We are the germs that they really want to rid of. We are the ones that they really want to kill off. We are the ones that they really want to feed off. We are the worm in the bottle of tequila. Got it with the way on the altar, chance in the ballad, drives from the garden. Hey, KD cleans a lie, but on the go, say more of you right. Hey, I'm with the Alicia DMD and the Camry. I saw Stephanie Cook and the Cambria, James McGowan and the I said Tony Hamby, Chase. I said everybody gonna miss me. Hey, what a dingus job, Caroline, a lot of love. Carmine with Tracker, the Major, everybody octa with the Mrs. Mock. To took it back. A dick and a bell, an attacker with a cat deep by Anna.